Ta-da! Hello, everybody. It is Saturday night. I almost said Friday night, but it's Friday. It's Saturday night for real. Wow. Okay, so tonight's special guest, Mario Mosin, ended up having a scheduling conflict for this evening. So instead of him joining me here tonight, we pre-recorded a interview on Wednesday. And so tonight, instead of it being live and in person, I'm gonna play the recording for you guys. So it is still Suicide Prevention Saturday. We are still talking with Mario Mosin. I'm just going to be over here in the chat answering any questions that you have versus when I actually usually respond to you guys. So that's kind of how tonight is going to go. I figured I wanted to pop on here a little bit early to explain this all to you guys. And then my plan is right at 9, go ahead, click the video that I have all queued up for you guys. And hopefully that will work really, really well. So with that being said, that was my big announcement. I'm like, I'll go a couple minutes early. And now I've got 5 minutes to kill. So what do y'all want to talk about before we get started? Let's see. Oh yeah. So I've got my Aiming for Zero shirt on. I know it says SIG, but this one is from a couple years ago where we did have our Aiming for Zero at SIG. And tonight, though, I am in Dunbarton, New Hampshire, or close to it that. And that is where we're actually having our match tomorrow, which is the whole reason this is early. So yours truly can get some sleep before having to be at the range for 6:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. So much fun. So yeah, so it's super exciting to see you all. Isn't there an event coming? What do you mean? Oh, wait. Did you win the match already? Are you waiting to tomorrow? Oh, yeah. So I'm not practicing enough to win anything right now. I'm just going to shoot the match. I have there is some hope in the way that they actually score this match is they do it in thirds. So you've got your division, like my husband's shooting revolver, I'm shooting semi-automatic production. And they just take whatever everyone's score is, and they do the top third, the middle third, and the bottom third. So with any luck, maybe I'll be at the top of the bottom third, but I'm not really sure. So yeah, so I will be shooting tomorrow. This, like I said, this is one of my shirts, my Aiming for Zero shirts. Like, if I pull it all up, there you go. I will hide for you so you can see my Aiming for Zero shirts. So that is, that's tomorrow. I'm shooting 250 round count minimum, because that's assuming you don't have any makeup shots or you don't have any misses. So I expect to be shooting at least around 300 rounds tomorrow. My husband doesn't think I'm going to miss that much, but there's going to be steel, there's going to be paper, there's going to be lots of different things. High Ghost Tactical, High PN Woods. Oh yeah, I suppose. So let's see. Do the roll call thing. So hi DJ. Hey G Webs. I just was answering his question that we're shooting tomorrow, not now. And then we've got Ghost and PNW Woods. Apparently I was told when I called you PN Woods, it wasn't proper. I have to do the PNW. So there you have it. Yeah, so I did do my dry fire style installments preseason, and I didn't practice every day. No, I did not. I know, it's like, So, yes, let's go with this part. So, Aiming for Zero is Roots Veteran Suicide and Assist Military Families by targeting veterans with competitive shooting community. So, so actually, sort of, in that Aiming for Zero raises money through these competitions. It's one of the ways, if any of y'all have ever heard of CrossFit, and that sort of stuff. They have like rucksack charity events. They even have gamer events where you can do a charity event, playing video games and all of that. Oh, so it's because it's Pacific Northwest. Well, then PN, because, Northwest is a compound word. I don't have to say the W. At least that's how I'm going to go with it. But anyway, I am not about perfection. I'm about progress. Apparently, I will just call you Bacon from now on. All right. So anyway, thank you. Yes, Ghost Tactical. I do believe it is an awesome an awesome cause. Wow. All right. So whenever I see the cute little puppy, I will just say Bacon instead of PN Woods. Or maybe I'll remember, maybe I won't. All right, folks. It is just about 8 p.m. Wow, I know what time of day it is. So for those of you who just jumped on, Mario couldn't make it tonight. So, oh yeah, TJ's gonna make me do this. Yes, the American Society for Suicide Prevention. Ta-da! All right, I'm going to. Oh, you just. All right, one more thing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pop up the video I did with Mario. I will be here commenting in the chat wherever you're chatting. And that's what I got for you guys. I will warn you now. I already know how long this is going to be. It's over an hour. So we should probably get started. Everyone's like, oh, you're going to edit that out? I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not going to go that far. So, all right. So this is going to be my first ever pre-recorded Saturday, Suicide Prevention Saturday. So I'm going to just do my normal opening. So hi, everyone. It's Saturday night, which means it's Suicide Prevention Saturday. And Ads Gun. All right, folks. So I just realized something real quick here. I kind of goofed. And I need to add this to my Facebook side because when I put this up original, I did not add it to my Facebook side. So folks over there are going to be wondering where the heck I am. So I appreciate for all YouTube folks holding on while I change this over. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, PNW. All right, here we go. I'm going to try that one more time. I appreciate y'all for sticking with me and my glitchiness. All righty then. Here we go, for real. Owners, we do this because 2 out of every 3 gun deaths the media is telling you about that's gun violence is actually suicides. So if we want to save lives, we need to talk about suicide. So today I have Mario Mosin. Originally he was going to be with us live and in person on Saturday, but he's got other things to do, and that's okay because we still got him for right now. So hi, Mario. Thanks for coming on tonight.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Like I said, just before we started, I'm like, I know some folks are going to be sad they don't get to see you live and in person, but
oh yeah,
how about this? Promise me, like over the next couple of days, you'll come back and like check in on some of the comments if people ask you specific questions.
Absolutely, and I hope a lot of guys. There's certain people that have my contact information, and if they really need to get a hold of me, obviously they can reach out through their channels to get a hold of me. So
right, and we will have down below, both in YouTube and so down below in YouTube, up above in Facebook, I'll put your YouTube channel. Okay. What else you have? What else you got going on for social media in your life these days?
I have Instagram and I have Facebook. So
okay. All right. So when everyone's watching this, it's going to be Saturday, the night before I go to my Aiming for Zero match. And so let me grab that real quick. Talk about that super fast. So for folks that don't know, Aiming for Zero is a veteran suicide shooting competition where we're raising money to help active heroes. And Active Heroes is sort of like the parent company who does all sorts of stuff for veterans. They have a retreat center. They have lots of different events. This is Aiming for Zero is obviously one of them. And I am having Mario on because Mario is a veteran, and we're going to learn a little bit more about Mario as we go. But veteran suicide is super important to talk about. Suicide in general is super important to talk about. Our teens right now, our preteens, are committing suicide. We need to talk about this. But Mario's here. And Mario, I'm going to let you give your own little bio, but I just want to let people know I found Mario because on his YouTube channel, which is going to be linked here, he talks about PTSD. He talks about veteran suicide. He's got a really good video on there kind of talking about how um, veterans leave the military and how come they're lost and that sort of stuff. So I'll try to get that link too. I don't know it off the top of my head. But Mario, I'll shut up now. Say something.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. And for all you guys that don't know me, my name is Mario. I retired in December 2020 from the United States Army after 22 years. Um, through my military career, got to do a lot of cool stuff. Started as actually an M1 tanker. I was in an M1 tank for about 10 years and really enjoyed that. But then the Army kind of started downsizing the tank force and decided to go into the infantry. Um, and I think it was the best move for me because I got to do a lot of things that I've always wanted to do. So, um, been to Iraq plenty times, 3 times. Um, I was there. We actually relieved the invasion force, um, which was the 82nd Airborne, and we took over their area of operations, and that was a really long deployment. I ended up doing 18 months due to the surge. I don't know if you guys know anything about history, but during this time, they kind of we were kind of starting to lose the war, and the president decided to uh, keep units that were getting ready to deploy back an extra 90 days. So, needless to say, a lot of us were upset about that, because we all wanted to come home. Um, so I have a lot of experiences. Most of my experiences were in combat world, in the infantry world. So, I started as a team leader and, I worked my way to becoming a platoon sergeant by the time I was doing my third deployment. And towards the end of my career, I was the acting first sergeant for my unit. So it was a really good experience, something that I would definitely take with me to the grave. I got to do a lot of cool stuff.
And
And
Mario, because I suck at math, when did you leave? What year? How long have you been out?
so I've been out since close to 2 years now. Yeah,
Okay.
about 18 months or so. And I'll talk a little bit more about the transition period and how that's affecting. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick brief of my experience, and you know, if I can help somebody, I'd definitely love to do that.
Yeah, it was funny as you're telling me this because like I didn't know the story yet, and I was just like, my nephew was a tanker in the army as well.
Oh,
Over,
okay, yeah,
and I say
no,
over the sand. So it's like one
yeah,
of those things. We've actually got a really cool picture of him from Fort Bragg, I think, with
okay,
the fireball in front of the tank kind of thing.
oh,
Um,
yeah, no,
that's
yeah,
sitting in
that's
our ammo room.
no, that's cool, yeah. No, it was fun. M1s are amazing vehicles, and they do a lot of cool stuff. Um, I actually kind of, uh, actually, we got to do a lot of stuff that we shouldn't be doing on an M1, but it was interesting. I was kind of going through the whole period where they were transitioning the M1 and they were making it into the M1A2 SEP, which is like a more computerized version. And better fire fire coordinating procedures, and it just had better sights. It had everything so much better. So it's like
Yeah.
going from sig to, going one with a red optic. It's just everybody just it's 10 times better. It makes you more efficient. So
Yeah.
yep.
Very cool. When did you start your YouTube channel?
I started my YouTube channel back in like 2009, and I didn't do anything with it for like a couple of years. I just I just started watching videos, because I really started getting myself more involved, and wanted to learn more about, you know, uh, some of the civilian weapons at that time, because I was still in the military, and I only knew what I knew. So eventually, I started getting into it, and I started noticing that there wasn't a lot of videos that pertain to prepping and pertain to, um, being self sufficient in case of an emergency. And I
Right.
just started making those kind of videos at first, and then little by little, I started kind of, making friends through YouTube. And it's been a very awesome experience, because I've got to meet people like yourself, and which we would never probably never met in if it wasn't for this platform. So
Oh,
uh,
absolutely. For
yeah,
sure.
and it's
Yeah,
really
because
cool.
I met you through G23, and I met G23 through gun websites and barbecue. And so, yeah, it is a cool way to meet folks and to connect with people, like you said, because you're in California. I'm
Yeah.
in Connecticut. We're a little,
Wow.
there's,
Yeah. Two
there's a little bit
extremes.
different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Similar gun laws, though, but other than that.
Yeah. No.
um, but yeah, actually, I just talked to someone today who was saying how they moved to Connecticut and had to sell all of their guns that they had in California. And I'm like, that seems so wrong. I can't believe our Connecticut gun laws are worse than what you guys have in California.
Um. Yeah. And what's really, but it's just like anything else. We have politicians that are not very good at understanding how guns work.
Well,
So they
and
don't really understand the intricacies of a gun. So
right.
there's ways around it. So I could say,
Absolutely. Well, and I mean, and here's the other part of it. The whole reason that the Suicide Prevention Saturday is my thing is because if over 60% of the gun deaths are talking about when they're talking about gun violence
mhm,
are suicides, I'm like, we don't have a gun problem. We have a mental health crisis in America.
absolutely, and
Um,
and
and so the 22 veterans a day, which I think they're saying it's down to 20 or 21.
mhm,
Obviously, one is too many. That's actually what let's see, hold on. This is one of the giveaways I did just before I got on here with you. But where is it? It says, one veteran suicide is too many, right?
yep,
So, but it's just like I said, I know I've got kids, I've got teens, and the
yeah,
preteen and teenagers that are doing suicide right now. So anyway, sorry, I didn't
mm.
mean to go way off on a tangent, but yeah,
It's all good.
the gun laws are not about preventing suicide, and we're
They're
talking
not.
about suicide because um, you've dealt with PTSD. You're dealing with PTSD. I'm guessing it's
Hmm.
not sort of a thing that ever goes away. You just get
No,
better at
no,
dealing with it.
no. You deal with it for the rest of your life, and there are certain things that trigger you. Could be smells, could be sounds, it could be just a myriad of things that could really trigger you. Like for me, it's noise and smells. Like it's kind of hard to really explain this to you, but after you've been through a lot of firefights or whatever, your sense of your senses seem to become more extreme or more sensitive, and one of mine is sense of smell. So my sense of smell is super super crazy, you know.
I had that when I was pregnant. Not quite the same thing, but I had that when I
Right,
was pregnant. It was just like, why
right,
do I smell everything?
yeah.
But
No, and that's one of the things that affected me. I remember I was not like that, but now I'm like a freaking bloodhound, and I can smell anything. And yeah, it's crazy.
yeah. Do you have kids?
Yes, I have three daughters. They're all pretty much grown up. I still have two that are home, but one's already graduated from college, and the other one is junior at Cal State Bakersfield. So she's almost done too. So yeah, they're close to leaving the nest, so I can have a man cave finally.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
That where I am right now, my office was my husband's man cave until I came and took it over.
Oh, okay.
So, but all right. So, PTSD, being a veteran, going from, having your band of brothers to back to civilian life. That was the video I was talking about before. You kind of touched on
Mm-hmm.
that. I don't want to go through everything that you talked on that because I want people to
Mm-hmm.
go watch that video because I think you did a great job of breaking it down. But like the short version, if I was going to Reader's Digest it for everyone, was that when you're in the military, you have this band of brothers. You have this
Mm-hmm.
cohesive group that you've got their back, they've got your back.
Mm-hmm.
And then you split apart and you come out and you're thrown on the street. I mean, America's not just the street, but it's just like you've lost the cohesiveness of that group that you spent so much time in the
Oh,
training and
yes.
all those years. So could you kind of like talk about some of that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when they talk about the band of brothers and we talk about, really, you know, having our six, I mean, we really do. We have to. I mean, and it gets to a point that, them and they know you. They know the kind of moves you're gonna make when you're in a firefight. They know they everybody kind of knows how everybody works, and it's kind of hard to put it in words, but we know what we need to do. You know, as soon as rounds go down or they come at us, like we react right away. Everybody knows their role. Everybody understands what they need to do. And the reason why we do that and we train like that is so that we can survive it. That's exactly what we want to do. We want to survive it. We want to make sure that we maintain, communication. We maintain, cohesiveness, and we drive on and finish the mission. Um, and it's kind of like really put into you from the get go. This whole thing of attention to detail. They tell you that from the first time you get out of the bus and go into your reception center. Um, they really drill to have sort of kind of a kind of autonomous type of, you know, uh, uh, reaction to certain things, and when it gets to that point where everybody knows each other, you feel closer to those people. And I'll be honest with you, there's some people that I can stand before the deployment, and afterwards we were like brothers, man. Like uh we understand each other. I respected them, they respected me. And we would do anything for each other, and that's the part that I miss the most.
Yeah, and I mean,
Is
what one of the things that you said though too is like finish the mission. And when I've
Mhm,
talked to other veterans about this horrible issue of veteran suicide, is that because you guys are trained so hard to finish the mission,
mhm,
this is why so many veterans are good at committing suicide, because they've been trained to finish the mission and they're gonna do it, and it doesn't end well, because you guys have all that training and all that. Okay, I need to finish this, and it's
Well,
just,
that
what do you think?
that is part of it. I mean, the other part of it is uh, you have a sense of worth when you're in the military, when you're in a unit. You know what you're valued as an individual, as a soldier, as a part of a platoon or part of a squad. That others depend on you and you depend on them. And I think that's the one aspect that I really really miss about the military, because everybody has a sense of purpose. Everybody understands what they're doing. And when you come back and you know people don't treat you the same way, or they mislabel you, they put you in one label and they think that everybody's the same. It really irritates you. It really does, because it's kind of insulting. You stop and think about all the stuff that we all did, and saw, so that those kind of things don't happen here. Honestly, I tell a lot of my friends, and I tell people that are not in the military, you need to be thankful for what you have here. You don't have to worry about somebody coming out with a vest and blowing himself up in a market. You don't have to worry about somebody coming with a truck or a vehicle and with an improvised explosive device, and blow themselves and blow as many people as they can.
Right.
We seen one incident, and that was in Oklahoma City
Hmm.
way back in the day. Can you imagine if there's 20 or 30 Timothy McVeighs?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And uh, the level of violence that I saw, I always hope that that never happens to Americans, because that's what we fought for. So
Right.
that you know I paid the price, so that way you don't have to suffer and deal with the consequences of war, because war is hell. It really is.
And the thing is, a lot of people, when they hear that phrase, I paid the price, they think that you're dead. And I'm like, no, the price is the PTSD. The price
Hmm.
is being away from your family. The price is not seeing your family on holidays. The price is all of that stuff and then more. And it's one of those things where it's interesting because one size never fits all. And I know
Hmm.
some have served proudly and are happy to say thank you for your service and accept
Hmm.
that. I know some veterans, if you say thank you for your service, they get all mad and cranky about it. So it's like
Right.
everything else. I'm like, I don't know. I always say thank
Well,
you anyway, but
I have a thing of saying, instead of saying thank you for your service, say thank you for your sacrifice, because that's what they did. They sacrificed.
right,
You know, and in some cases, it's just a simple thank you. You know, acknowledging that they are there and they belong, and whatever they did, it meant something to people here.
right,
Um, that to me is the best thing that anybody can do. Now, I would tell you, if you're a civilian and you're watching this and you meet somebody who's been in combat, please don't tell them how it feels like to shoot somebody, or how it feels to get in a firefight, get shot at. First of all, they don't want to tell you that kind of stuff.
oh, don't
They,
ask the question.
don't
Yeah.
ask the question. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I'm like, I don't think I would tell you how it feels to shoot someone. But yes, that is actually another thing I hear from veterans all the time is like people are morbidly curious about what it's like. And
Right.
I have had some veteran friends who have shown me pictures of the war zone, and I am
Oh,
ever so
I
grateful that I never have to see any of that live and in person.
Oh, I can tell you what a 50 cal does to a body. I can
Yeah,
tell you what a 7.62 by 51 does to a head. You
right.
know,
I've actually seen some of those pictures. Yeah,
yeah,
but it's definitely, but it again, people don't know, right? And so thank you for sharing that
yeah.
because
I actually had this one kid, and he just kept bugging me. I usually, this is when I was still active duty, and I usually try not to wear my uniform when I'm outside, of the base or my installation. But I had to go to the bank and I needed to deposit this check or whatever the case may be. And there was this one kid, and he just kept like asking me, and what's it like to get shot at, or how's it like to shoot somebody? And he just pissed me off, and I just looked him dead in the eye and I told him, you want to find out? And like, he just got all tense and freaked out, and he left. I hate to be that way, but I mean, if you're gonna provoke me to that point, then you get what you get,
I thought you were going to say you want to find out, join the military, find out for yourself. I mean, that's where I thought
No,
that was going.
no, I looked him dead in the eye and said, you want to find out what it feels like to get shot?
Uh-huh.
And I looked
Yeah.
him just straight in the eye, and then he's like, whoa. you
Mm,
know um but some people, they like to learn the hard way.
yeah. Well, and a lot of it is not knowing. Like I said, I have some veterans in my family. I have talked to lots of veterans. It's like the event that I'm going to this weekend, or sorry for you, everyone watching tomorrow. Chris Tessier, who is the match director for this, one of the
Hmm.
most in the beginning of every competition, we have a safety brief where they make announcements for the day, where's
Yep.
lunch, when are breaks, who are the medical people, all of that. But he had 22 veterans stand up front, and he's like, tomorrow, all these people are going to be gone. Not these particular ones, but 22 veterans are dying. And in America, we talk about 30-second sound bites mostly in our news. And to me, the suicide stuff should be being screamed from the rooftops because 130 people die a day.
Yep.
And if 22 or 20 of those are veterans, the veterans should be getting so much more attention. I mean, how do we help move that? How do we help talk about that more as a veteran? I know in some of your videos you've talked about what could the military do better, like releasing people back into society and that sort of thing, but also how to have better help. How can veterans help themselves more? Because as you know, it's like if you have PTSD, no wife, no mom, no sister, no brother is going to get you to go. You have to decide. So, can you talk a
Hmm.
little bit more about some of those things? I know I just like threw up a whole bunch of things, but I'm like,
Hmm.
what helped you actually open up and start to get help?
Hmm. Actually, it was my kids. My kids stood up to their dad. My kids, they came into my room. They were just crying. They're, just crying little eyes out. And I just told them, well, what's wrong? Um, and the middle one and the younger, they didn't say anything, but the oldest one said it and just looked me in the face, and he goes, Dad, we just don't like the way you treat us. And when they said that to me and they're crying, it affected me a lot, to the point where I had to, like, do something about it. And I think the biggest thing that we forget is that we pretty much program our service members to suck it up and drive on and do whatever they got to do, when they're going through tough times. Well, in this instance, they shouldn't have to do that. They should be able to contact anybody. And the first contact that I had was with the vet center. This is when the vet center was barely coming along, and what the vet center is basically, it's a clinic for transitioning members, who've been in combat, um, and that need, transition counseling or just counseling in general.
And this is while you're
And
still in the military or as you're
yeah,
leaving?
no, I was still in the military, and
Okay.
I was scared because obviously I didn't want to lose my secret clearance. That was a big thing for me. My job required it, and without it, I couldn't do my job.
Mhm.
Um, And what I like about the vet center is that it's separate from the VA hospital. In most cases, vet centers are not even near a VA hospital, for the same fact that a lot of people. I mean, honestly, I don't even like going to the to VA hospital because, I mean, no disrespect to a lot of the guys, but it feels like a creep show, man. It really does, because you see guys with no legs or no arms. I'm like, damn, I thought I had it bad, and then you don't feel like maybe I'm not that messed up, I maybe I should just go,
Yeah.
so I think keeping that separate really helped. And at that time when I just got back, um, they were barely finding out about PTSD. They were barely understanding the situation with traumatic brain injury. Um, they had no idea how much this affected um,
So many.
servicemen. Yeah, but going back to your questions, what are some of the things that we can do? I think there's better things that we all could do right now. The military, once a service member leaves the military, um, they should be able to pass that information to some of the civilian organizations that work with veterans, and ensure that they follow up with them and making sure that they have what they need. Unfortunately, when we go through our out processing, it's like, they tell you, are you you have headaches or whatever. You go, no, 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 because you want to get the hell out of there. You don't want to stay there. you know so everybody has that mentality. Oh, man, just put no and just get the hell out of here. you know because they don't want to deal with the out processing, because it takes a while, and it's in many ways it just irritates people, and especially if they're held back for medical. They can put you in a medical platoon and keep you away from your unit, or sometimes they'll keep you in unit, but they'll put you on light restriction. And and sometimes that's a little hard, because you go to your unit and you see somebody on light duty and you don't see anything wrong with them, you know so you know the innuendos come in, like, and people start thinking of you differently. And I think that was the biggest problem that I had when I was in the military. Especially when you're a leader. Your sergeant, staff sergeant, sergeant first class, sergeant major. You have to lead. And who do
Back
you
to the
go
suck it
to?
up buttercup
Yeah,
thing. It's
exactly.
like
Hmm.
you can't be on light duty. You can't take care of yourself. And I
No.
mean, and this is part of the conversation that's had often on these suicide prevention Saturdays is
Hmm.
that self-care. It
Right.
doesn't matter whether you're a veteran or a civilian. And I know that comparative thing, not from going to the VA, but
Hmm.
when I was a teen, that's when I was suicidal. And
Hmm.
I went to group therapy. And I'm
Right.
sitting there listening to these folks. Now, granted, they have all their
Hmm.
body parts, but I'm listening to some of their problems. And I had that same thought, though, of like, Wow, I really don't have it as bad as that one. And
Yeah.
we start comparing, like, oh yeah, I guess I'm not as bad as I think, or I shouldn't. Luckily for me, I've been to lots of counseling and I have amazing friends and I've learned lots.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the most and hardest lessons is not to compare my pain to anybody else's.
Exactly.
Because I could sit here next to you right now and be like, dude, you've been places I never want to go.
Oh yeah.
So I should suck it up, Buttercup, because I haven't had to do what you've had to do. But
Right.
it's not fair. And unfortunately, I think we definitely minimize that stuff and be like, oh,
Yeah.
well, there's someone who's
But
got it worse than me.
but trauma is trauma. I mean, women. Let's say, for example, women that get raped. That's a trauma that's going to be with them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
You know, and in many ways, we just need to be conscious that different traumas trigger people differently and make them act differently. Um, One of the things that I do talk about on my YouTube channel, um, it's called PTSD Combat Veteran, and it's a series of videos that I talk about anger. I talk about dealing with kids. I talk about uh, war movies. But I think the one video that's gotten the most views and and Google, shut up, Jesus.
I'm like, wait a second, what happened? I swear I
That's
didn't play.
Google. Google, stop. Hey, Google, stop. Good Lord. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Everyone's like, you're gonna edit that out. I'm like, no, we'll just keep going.
Freaking Google. All right, I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's
So
all good.
start talking about a lot of the things that trigger me and the one video that I got the most views is the one I talk about relationships because it hits home to a lot of people.
Mm,
And it I've gotten so many great comments out of that video. I was like mind blown because I was sick. I had just I was sick from a illness called valley fever. That's kind of very common where I'm at.
yeah.
Um, and and I was in this video and I'm like coughing and doing all this stuff, but I was talking about my experiences with relationships and the issues that I have with me and my wife, and it really resonated with a lot of people. A lot of people, especially the spouses, started understanding more of what why they are the way they are, and that's really why I do it. I make those videos so that I can help like like the the parents, the the spouses, the girlfriends, the boyfriends, if that's the case. Um, the more we tell them like how we feel and the challenges that we go through, I think the more people will be willing to help. And getting yourself out of that suck it up buttercup scenario, it's really tough. It's really
I
tough for a
mean,
lot of people.
and that was kind of actually the next question that I had in my head was kind of like, how we help the families? Because my husband's had to deal with my depression and anxiety since we
Hmm.
were in high school or college, is when we first met.
Right. Hmm.
And I know that for me, it's that if there was anything he could do to fix me, I'd be fixed because we all want
Hmm.
to fix the other person. And it's just like, this is like, do
Well,
you have any particular breadcrumbs to help like
well,
family
I think first of all, like what you said right now,
members?
you can't fix PTSD. You just can't. You just the best thing is for you to understand what causes them to have anxiety or depression or whatever the case may be. And that's the best way that you can help them. I'm going to give you an example. Let's say I go to a restaurant, right? And it's packed, all right? But, I go to the hostess and I tell her, hey, I want to ask for a special request, and they'll be like, okay. And I tell them, look, I'm a combat veteran. I can't I can't stand, with somebody being behind me or passing behind me. Is it possible that I can get a table that's in the corner where I could see everybody kind of thing? And they go out of their way to make sure I get something like that. But I mean, if you don't tell people what you got going on, and then let's say you're in the restaurant and you're agitated because people keep passing by and you can't control it, and it it ruins the moment. Like, for example, one time we went to Olive Garden. This is before I was more honest with the hostesses and people I would go to. They gave us a table and it was in the middle of the walkway. And every time people would pass by, it was irritating me a lot. It was pissing me off. And there was something that my wife said, and I just lost it, you know. And in many ways, I was just answering her question, but the way she tells me is that I was yelling at her, and she just walked away and left. And we had to leave the restaurant because and I felt so embarrassed because of it, because you know I I was in this situation that I couldn't help myself, and I lashed out on my loved one.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
we do that the worst.
yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things. I think all of us who've been in like long term relationships, it's like for better or worse, really means for better or worse.
Hmm.
In that there's definitely times when I'm like, my husband does not deserve the way that I've treated him.
Hmm.
How did you start to notice, or how did you start paying attention to what are your triggers? Because I know sometimes it's really hard to figure out what the triggers are. Um,
Um,
like,
well,
what did you notice?
like for me, I notice smells. Like for example, unfortunately, I live Central California, and it's kind of in a valley, right? So whenever we have wildfire season, which is like from now till like October or November, sometimes, you get all that brush fire smell, and it reminds me of the fire pits. It reminds me of all these bad memories that I had when I was in this little fob or forward observation base in the middle of nowhere, and people are lobbing mortars and rockets at you or shooting at you, and it just brings all that stuff into you, and you just get rage, you get upset, and you don't know how to really express yourself. Um, I think another thing that triggers me is like loud people. Like if you're like really loud, I I'm just gonna be I'm gonna be very honest. I'm telling look, you kind of keep it down because I can't deal with it because one thing that like I was telling you, our senses are so heightened and we're so situational aware of everything that if I can't hear what's around me, then how can I protect myself or you or anybody else? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So those are the things that trigger me. I had a an incident that happened in Iraq where um, the we were in this little town and they were protesting about because they had not gotten like their electricity turned on. This is after the invasion, and I know that they were working on the infrastructure, getting it better and stuff like that. Well, I was outside of my Humvee, and all of a sudden I got surrounded by all these people because they were just yelling and saying all kinds of stuff. And all of a sudden I felt somebody trying to grab my pistol. And as soon as I did that, I elbowed the crap out of them, but they were still trying to hold on. And the only reason why my my pistol was not did not come out is because of my holster. My holsters, I think it was the old Safari Land or something like that. We had to clip down.
Yeah, the Serpa holster that you got to put
Yeah,
your thumb on to
yeah,
release it
yeah,
that we don't allow in training camps. That
yeah.
one,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Be-
well, that one saved my life because if it wasn't for that, this person could have probably had access to my 9 mil and probably would have shot me in the head. You know,
yeah,
so it's like stuff like that. And I think honestly, I think veterans need to open up that they need help. They gotta understand that you know people are willing to help them if you just open up your mouth and say what you really feel. The only time they really open up and say how they feel is if they call their battle buddy, or
right,
they talk to another veteran that's been there.
right.
You know,
And I mean, I've heard that a lot as well. It's like veterans only want to talk to veterans because I can't possibly understand because I wasn't
right?
there and that sort of stuff. And
Hmm.
there's part of me that's I I hate that because I want to be able to help, but at the
Hmm.
same time, it's one of those things where, yeah, I wasn't there, but I have learned different
Hmm.
ways to deal with your stress. Everyone's got
Yeah.
a different key, but
Hmm.
you got to check around because
Hmm.
your battle buddies may or may not have found the solutions. If
Right.
you are one of their battle buddies, you
Right.
found ways to talk about it and that
And
sort of stuff.
I'm gonna tell you the reason why a lot of veterans don't like talking about it because it's very gruesome what we talk about.
Oh, no, no. I just mean that they need help, not
Right.
talking about why they need
Yeah.
help. Do you know what I mean? Like,
But yeah, but sometimes when people want us to open up, I tell them, "You sure you want to know this?"
yeah,
Because most of the stuff I tell them is very graphic and very brutal. You
right,
know, and and then they're like, maybe I don't want to know, and then you're more upset because you kind of like put yourself out there, and then
yeah,
all of a sudden these people don't want to help you. So I can see that's why sometimes veterans would rather talk to somebody who's served or
right,
who's had the same experiences, because that way they can relate, they understand what you're going through
right.
you know
Well, I know that tools. One of the things I try to give out every Saturday is a tool. Something as simple as shoulders back, head up, take a deep breath in. Or if you feel like you're like falling apart, if you put your head down and you're looking down, you're getting all in. Whereas if you open up and put your head up physically, you can break out of at least something.
right.
Um, what kind of tools do you use? Like, because you know you've got
um
your triggers, so I'm
right.
guessing you've also found some tools to help you if you know you're in a place that's not awesome because you can't control if there's forest fires or not.
Right.
So, how do you help yourself get from holy crap I'm
I
scared to how do I
I
help prepare?
Right. So I mean, there's different ways. Obviously, I try to talk to somebody. You know, try to talk to my battle buddies as much as I can. But if for some reason it's in the middle of the day and everybody's working, whatever the case may be, um, the VA actually has this thing called the PTSD coach, and it's an
Okay.
app, that you can download to your phone, and it's got like you know it kind of breaks it down, like how do you feel, what are some of the things that you're going through, and they pretty much put it in there, and it tells you how to cope with it and help, gives you a lot of tools. It even has like soothing music or soothing pictures and stuff like that that can help you. So, and I don't think this is just for service members. I think anybody can download this. So I mean,
Okay.
you don't have to serve in the military to download that app, and it's something that could definitely help a lot of people.
There is a anxiety video that I share all the time. It's by this
Hmm.
guy Sam Harris, and it's like a 6 or 8 minute video, and it just talks about like when you're feeling like, for you, the story you gave me of, going back to that moment where you're starting to freak out for having someone steal your pistol and you could die right then and there, right?
Hmm.
And the loud noises. And then the anxiety thing would talk about how, okay, what's happening right now, and trying to bring yourself back to the present. Do you do any like meditation or anything like that as well? Or do you like just use the app and your friends, and like, because I just wanted to let people have as many possibilities for ways to find a way to deal.
I I I deal with it a little different than most people. I look at pictures of my family. I look at the reason for me being uh, here. Being where I'm at. I used to have a picture of my family in my Kevlar. I had it inside, and it reminded every time I put it on, it reminded me the reason I'm going home, and I'm gonna do what I need to do to be there for my kids. And that's kind of one of the things that I think a lot of people need to do is look at pictures, look at memories that you had with loved ones, or instances where you had really good times, and just go back to those times. And honestly, to me, it helps me a lot. I have a tendency of watching, comedies or stand up. I love stand up comedy. I love stand up comedy. Whenever I can find a good comedian on YouTube or whatever the case, I tend to watch them. I tend to listen to what they say. If they're really funny, it helps me.
The last one I saw was Fluffy. I don't remember his real name, but he cracks me up
Yeah,
every
it's
time.
Gabriel Iglesias.
Yes, that one. We went. He was here in Connecticut, and we got to see him. And it was
Hmm.
just like, yeah. I think the
Yeah,
last time I saw any other comedian was Ron White, and that was probably about 10 years ago, or it might have
yeah.
even been pre-children. And my kids are
Here's your sign.
14, pretty much.
Yeah.
So,
I got to see Robin Williams in Iraq,
oh yeah,
and Robin Williams' death really hit me hard
yeah,
because you would never think that this this gentleman, this person he's he's pretty much a legend,
right,
would commit suicide.
yeah,
And that's one thing I want to talk to you people about is that sometimes you may not see it all the time. They may try to play the happy go lucky, but inside they're dying, man. you know and
man,
it's when they get to that corner or that place in the room and they're just alone with their thoughts is when a lot of these things happen. And yeah, Robin Williams' death really hit me hard because you know he really loved the troops. He really loved performing for the troops. And he took his time. They told him, "Oh, it's 1 hour." It'd be like 3 hours, and you're still going at it. He didn't care
right,
because he loved the guys. He wanted to make sure that at least we can forget about war for 1 or 2 hours.
yeah, yeah. No, and then that's actually one of the questions I get all the time is people is like, how can you tell? How can you tell? And I use Robin Williams as the example. I'm just like,
Hmm.
here's someone crazy successful. Tons of people love him.
Hmm.
On pretty much anyone's success scale, he was up there. And yet there was something missing inside to make him feel like he needed to continue on to the next day. Um, and it's
Yeah.
just like I was suicidal when I was in high school, and like I went back to my 20-year reunion. And I asked all my girlfriends, I'm like, "Did you guys have any idea that I was depressed?" They're like, "No, not at all." And it's just like there isn't necessarily a way. Are there people that show the typical depression, withdrawal, all of that sort of stuff? I'm like, yes, of
Mhm.
course people fall into that, but there's plenty of people that, like Robin Williams, look like they've got all their stuff together, and they've
Mhm.
walked the walk, they talk the talk, just like Facebook. lies, right? Is like, oh, look at how beautiful everyone's life is. It's like, no, most of us suck at sharing our
Yeah.
pain. Some of us share our pain too much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's just like, it's the truth is somewhere in between. And
Mm-hmm.
I've been to, I'm sure like you have, is like, I've been to funerals where someone has committed suicide. And the conversations I hear are always the same. Why didn't they reach out? How come they didn't call me? I was there for them. And I'm like, no, here's the deal. Like you're talking about checking in with your battle buddies. It's like you have to check in with your friends. You have to call them because if they're feeling like they're not worthy of the breath that they're taking in, they're not going to reach out for help. And like you
Yeah.
said, we need to get better about that. But
Yeah.
I have no magic ideas of how to do that for other
Yeah.
people or suggestions.
Yeah. And actually, that's a great thing is reaching out. Um, I have a lot of friends that reach out, but the one that reaches out the most is MCK. His name is Mark. And although he's never served, he understands my pain. He understands the issues that I deal with. And I just get a text out of the blue. Hey, what's up, man? What are you doing? And it means the world to me because at least somebody's thinking of me.
Yeah,
Other than my immediate family.
right.
So yeah, it's just reaching out and just finding out how they're doing. Um, it's the best medicine because you want them to know that they matter, that you care about them, you know.
Yeah.
And in many ways, I think it's going to create a stronger bond between that person and the veteran. I mean, so and maybe in some cases they might even open up to them, but at least just being there is the best thing that you can do.
Yeah. I mean, it's another encouraging thing I try to do every on Saturday is like if someone pops into your head, no matter when the last time you talked to them was, pick up the phone and call them. It's
Hmm.
like you said, just say, "Hey, how's life?" There are
Hmm.
so many stories, and because it's the internet, you don't know how much is real and how much isn't. But like of the kid who was packing up their locker and dropped something, and some other kid came along and helped them pick it up, and then years later, the kid's like, "Thanks for helping me with my books. I was going home to kill myself, but because you showed me a little bit of kindness, total stranger, I didn't do that." So it can be so simple, and some of us will never know if we've made a difference in someone's life.
Right.
But at the
Um,
same time, it can be so little that we have to do.
yeah. And something it's just the little things, and that's one aspect that I think people really need to to think about. It's just the little things that matter because to many of us, we're happy where we're at, but it just knowing people that care about you is the most important thing than anything else.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I don't know. What else do we have to talk about?
Um, I think the other aspect that I want to talk about uh, PTSD is that, like I was saying before, this is a permanent condition. This is something that's not going to go away. This is something that has to be driven and it has to be um, we just have to continuously care for that person. They're going to have ups and downs. They're going to, um, maybe not be as responsible in some other times. Um, but, you got to make them feel like they matter and what they do for you and for your family or for everybody else makes a difference. I think the worst thing that you could ever do to a combat vet is to make them feel like they don't belong anymore. That nobody understands them. Nobody's there for them. And that's when that level of depression hits them to the point that they feel like the best thing they could do is kill themselves. Um, I say this a lot, and to be honest with you, I think I'm being very honest here. Most people don't really care about veterans because it doesn't affect them. Only 1% of the total population serves in the military or ever served in the military. So when somebody dies, it's not like a big deal, you know, to the community. Some people in the community might see it as a big deal, but to others, it's just, well, they killed themselves. You know, sucks to be them, and it's something that, that's just the mentality of some people. Um, so I think, in all honesty, just care for the person, care for the people that you love, and they can have a long, fulfilling life, because that's what we all want us to do. Um, I am actually in June. I'm actually going to a retreat that's similar to what you guys are to Wounded Heroes. It's called Mighty Oaks. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
I have not. Well, and this is the other thing is like the more I get into it, the more I find, and it's sort of like 2A organizations where it's
Hmm.
like, I wish we sort of had a better holistic approach to, hey, if you're in New Hampshire, here are some great 2A or,
Hmm.
veteran help centers and that sort of stuff.
Right. And that's one aspect that I think a lot of people need to understand. There's countless of veteran organizations that their whole sole purpose is to help veterans. And I think people just need to do a little bit of research and find out. I found out about Mighty Oaks through watching a video, an old video that they talk about buds training. And one of the guys that's in there, it's an older gentleman. They call him Mother because he's kind of like always keeping an eye on everybody, right?
Yeah.
Well, there was some clickbait when I watched that video about what happened to him after he came back, or this was during Afghanistan or Iraq, whatever the case may be. You guys
Mhm.
got to watch that video. And he talks about how he couldn't go to a mission, or he wasn't able to go into one of these missions, and his whole platoon died. And these are all Navy SEALs, and it affected him so bad to the point that he lost his wife and lost pretty much his family, and had to start all over again. And some way somehow he found other veterans that were willing to help, and you know they created this organization. And now they have like two or three retreats in the United States. They have one in California, and I think they have one in Florida. um, and it's they got other nonprofits to help, and corporations to help. So this is like a week long thing for these veterans. They have to prove that they're veterans. They have to show their DD-214 and stuff like that. But if anybody can go to anything like this, a Wounded Heroes or a Mighty Oaks, and you're a veteran and you're watching this, you suffer from PTSD, man, go and do it. It's the best thing you can ever do. You'll be talking to peers, basically your peers, for veterans and first responders. And and I think sometimes the best thing that we can do is to have that interaction with other people that have suffered and have gone through the same ordeals as I have, and we can better relate. um, the transition from the military to the civilian world has not been easy for me. You know, it's been tough. It's gotten to the point where I just don't even bother applying for jobs. You know, even though I have a master's degree, even though I have all this experience and all this stuff, but it's got me to the point where I'm like, well, you know, maybe I just given up. And I'm to the point now that I just feel that I need to attend something like this, because I need to get the perspective of other people, so I can better help myself and help others.
Yeah. It's I mean, again, from other people I've talked to as well, it's that whole thing of you're in the military, you have your mission, you know what you're supposed to do, you have
Hmm.
your job, and then you come out and it's just like it's all gone. Everything
Hmm.
that they trained you to make you do and to have that singular focus. And now it's just like, okay, you take care of you, have a nice day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's Mike Rowe is another guy who does like a pay it forward kind of show, and I'm blanking on the name, but I wrote it down so I'd remembered it. But he also has like a lot of different veterans. Like here in New York State, there is a veteran who, or a group of veterans again, that started up a body shop,
Mm.
and they do it so that they employ veterans to fix up these cars and then give them to veterans who need them to get to
Oh, that's
shops
cool.
and that sort of stuff.
That's
So like you
awesome.
said, there's tons of stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
But it just seems like it's so hard to find it. I know you said just do a
Mm-hmm.
little research, but like what kind of stuff do you actually look for when you're looking for this stuff?
Absolutely. And, I mean, in all honesty, and I know this is something that a lot of them don't want to hear, but you have to network. You have to, talk to others and figure out, you know, what's out there. And that's how I found this place.
Mm-hmm. So what do you have your degree in? You said you've got a master's or something. What do you do?
It's criminal justice administration with emphasis on homeland security.
And there's no jobs for you at this point, or just no jobs you
Oh,
actually want to do?
mm, well, to be honest with you, um, uh, I think I was more broken than what I thought. and
Gotcha.
uh, and now that I'm kind of like not doing much, my body's like you know hurting. Like I'm actually gonna have knee surgery at the end of the month. And I have
Nice
a lot
calf
of
stretches, man. Good luck.
yeah, yeah. So and now it's gotten to the point where maybe that wasn't such a good career move, but you know the aspect that I have a lot of experience in leadership and operations and systems.
Mhm.
That's what helps me. But just finding something that I'm gonna be passionate about is the hardest thing. You
Right.
know.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know. It's again, my life is different than yours. Everyone's life is
Hmm.
unique. Everybody who suffers from any kind of PTSD, depression, anxiety, everybody's got different levels and that sort of stuff. I know that for me, working for myself is one of the hardest things because I'm like, oh, look, squirrel, something else I can do over here and something else I can do over here.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know. Well, since you've got all that leadership stuff and you've got all that thing, maybe you can start coordinating all these veteran groups to actually come together, create the network so that there is something for everybody. So that's my suggestion for you. A little tiny task while you're sitting there recovering
Hmm.
from surgery, maybe.
Yeah.
But
And I thought about it, but there's really a lot of YouTube creators that are military, and some of them have better charisma or better presentation skills than I do. And I think that some of the stuff that we talk about it's kind of out there already.
yeah,
So it's like,
well, but here's the thing though, is like I'm reaching different people than other 2A women are reaching, right? There's Holly Sullivan, there's Diana Muller, these are all DC Project ladies, right? And they're all
mhm,
2A, but we all come across different. And I mean, dude, Mario, there's
mhm,
going to be people that relate to you because you're not all slick and polished and
mhm.
all those other things. So I would definitely not suggest that the other folks are better, or it's just they're different. And each of
Yeah.
us are going to have a different
Well, actually,
skill.
I really want to find I really want to find my Robin, if you want to call it. Um,
All right,
when
explain.
we're in Iraq, right? We had tower duty, and tower duty is boring as hell. You're just in the tower and you're looking at your surroundings, but it gets boring, you know. And
Lots
everybody
of
had
sand.
Mhm.
Lots of sand. I don't know.
Not necessarily there's vegetation right, but you get bored. So everybody had these little Motorola's, right? And we would talk, and we kind of created like this like a radio talk show kind of thing.
Oh God.
So so myself and my compadre here, um, we were the cracker and bean dip show, and
Okay.
we had the we
Is he
had
white and you're darker? I don't know. I'm just
yeah,
curious.
yeah, and no, he was super white. So um, so it was funny, it was called the Cracker and Bean Dip Show, and it had, the Motorola's has like a little call sign, like a little beep or whatever,
Hmm.
and we were like, oh, we have a caller, and then call it, and then we had people impersonate other people. I mean, the worst one is when we had our platoon sergeant on the radio, and he started pretending to be a woman. I'm like, dude, you sound so bad as a woman.
So literally like Robin Williams
I
in
I
Good Morning
really I
Vietnam.
really wanna find the crackhead. You know what I'm saying? The
Yeah,
cracker, the cracker, and we can create like a little live talk show and stuff like that. Yeah, I would love to find that so I can restart the cracker and bean dip show. It was great.
yeah. Well, hey, it is. I mean, you already said before. Laughter is one of the best medicines,
Yeah,
for sure. And
yeah, and we did all kinds of stupid things just to entertain ourselves. Believe me.
yeah, I mean, there's some videos that I've
Yeah,
seen that I'm
there's
just like,
some that leaked out. Some of the other things they shouldn't be leaked out. I'm like, who would put this video on on the internet? Like, what the hell?
yeah,
It's
no, it's
stuff that
like,
we're not supposed to talk about.
yeah, for sure. It's well, I mean, some of it's been creative, like the music videos they put out with dudes on tanks and stuff like that. So I mean, there's some stuff that's got entertainment, but then yes, there are the videos that I've seen that never made it to YouTube and shall never make it to YouTube. But I'm like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, oh yeah, no, yeah, we have some. Trust me.
yeah,
And yeah, they
but
will never make YouTube because they're most likely get pulled out. But
super fast. It's like, nope,
mhm,
we're done. See ya.
yeah,
Um, all right, so I have a hard question to ask.
hmm
I don't know. It feels hard for me to ask it. I don't know if it's hard, but it's like, is PTSD impacted harder because for someone like you who's coming back from a combat zone, that you have survivor's guilt because you came back and you know all the folks that did not come back
hmm yeah.
because
I think all kinds of trauma, mental trauma, it's tragic. But I think the reason why it affects veterans so much is because it's how violent it was, and how you know one incident or one firefighter seeing your battle buddy died, it'll affect them for the rest of their lives. Um, and not to say that other trauma that other people have endured is not worthwhile or not should not be talked about.
hmm,
But I still think that a civilian doesn't have that training that I have, where you kind of suck it up and drive on. We have that mentality. We're kind of like a robot.
I
Whereas,
hear Italians say that that's really all they ever do. It's suck it up.
yeah,
But
yeah,
anyway.
but I still think that a civilian who hasn't endured that kind of trauma or that kind of issues or not trained that way, they can better open up to what's wrong with them.
Right.
You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
and Americans in general, I mean, I know if you actually live, I don't know, it's, we do not deal with death very well at all. Like,
No,
it's not part
no,
of our culture. It's like
no.
Day of the Dead in Mexico makes sense because you get to celebrate, you get to understand, you've got your ancestry, all that. But it's like,
Mhm.
to me, Americans, we don't deal with death. And
Right. Um, um, I really don't think Americans deal with tragic stuff that well. You know,
like you said,
um,
we don't see it. It's not
we
part of
don't
our daily
see it.
life.
So
We're
when,
not worried
so
about the little kid. We're not looking at kids and seeing if they're looking too puffy today to see if they've
yeah,
got a bomb on them.
right. So one thing I can say is we got to be very thankful for the law enforcement that we have, because along with us, we have prevented a lot of attacks in the mainland because of it. And I know a lot of people, even to this day, they still talk about the Patriot Act and how this thing kind of like took people's privacy away. But you stop and think about it. Most of these people that want to harm us, they live in our neighborhoods. They live in our, in our communities. So they embedded with the regular civilian community. Let's look at the Boston bomber. This guy was living in a Boston area. It made it seem like there was nothing extreme about them.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah, no, we don't know what we don't know. I mean, I've got
Hmm.
friends in the FBI, and it's just like they can't tell you all the stuff that they've stopped.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like the police, they
But
can't tell you all the things
yeah,
that didn't happen.
right. I can't tell you because I've seen it, but there's a lot of things that we have prevented because of the due diligence that we have, to protect our country, to for us to never have to see, or our population never have to see what we see, you know. And I still think that Americans in general just take their liberties for granted.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and it's like I hate to sound horrible, but it's like part of me is that whole thing of first world problems. Like people got a almond milk latte versus their whole milk latte, and
Oh
they're
yeah,
losing
if they
like
don't
nothing.
have it, it's a tragedy.
And I'm just like, and yet I still hear my counselor's voice saying, "Don't compare your pain to someone else's pain because it's not fair." But it's just like, okay, trying to not judge and be like, okay, that's their horrible thing. But it's just like when you know that you've watched someone have body parts blown off in front of you, and then you see them in the hospital with less than what they started with. It's like almond milk versus whole milk all of a sudden doesn't seem like a big idea, but then it's like, oh, but wait, they're allergic to it and they're going to die because they drank it. So I mean, I don't know, so trying not
Well,
to judge others.
yeah,
But
not only that, but stop and think about it. We have continuous electricity, right? We have
well, I
continuous
don't know, we're,
water.
we're about to head into rolling blackouts just like California, so we're following you there.
Oh, lovely.
I don't know, but anyway, yes, normally in America we have continuous electricity.
You have sewers that works. You have water as soon as you open the tap.
Clean water
Clean
even
water. Yeah,
that's drinkable pretty much from
yeah.
almost every faucet you open.
It doesn't taste that great, but it's drinkable.
Yeah. It's
You
not going
know
to kill you for drinking it. And you don't have
exactly.
to walk 10 miles with a bucket on your shoulder to
Hmm.
get water for the day or the week
Yeah,
or whatever. And
exactly.
yeah, Americans who have not left America and not been to a third world. I mean, my Mexico story. I went to Mexico to get my dad out of jail, and yeah, that's a whole nother story. We won't go down that rabbit hole. But I know enough Spanish that I'm standing there on the road with my dad, and we're going to breakfast. And a gentleman walks up and starts talking to my father, and I'm like, Dad, just say no. What's he saying? I'm like, I'll tell you later. Just say no. Just say no. And so we get to breakfast, and my dad's like, so what was he saying? And he's like, well, he said that I was a pretty white girl and they had really good doctors in their brothel and he would give a really good price for me. And
Wow, seriously?
yeah, for real, for real.
Wow.
And and it's one of those things I'm like, and that's just over the border. That was in
Hmm.
Nogales, Mexico.
Well, you know, I think people have no idea that how much other people in other countries hate Americans.
That too. Yeah.
I saw that firsthand. I saw the hatred of people and how much they hate America and what we stand for. And it's bone chilling, man. It really is because you see through their eyes how much they hate you. You know, there's times where we got into firefights, and you capture a couple of guys, and you start interrogating them, find out who they are. I ran into this one guy who's from Jordan, and he spoke really good English, you know. And I asked him, "So where are you from?" He goes, "I'm from Jordan." And I'm like, "You're from Jordan?" He goes, "Yeah." "What are you doing here?" "Well, I came to kill Americans." Straight out like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just think people take their liberties for granted, and they take what we have here, uh, for granted. I think it's something that we need to cherish, and we need to continuously be thankful for.
For sure. And I mean, it is. I will tell you that I used to not know anything as far as our government, any of that sort of stuff. I never voted. I never paid any attention. And then I became a gun owner. And I found out a 10 round mag ban is a gun ban. I found out that violence prevention has nothing to do with gun control
Absolutely,
laws,
absolutely.
and so I started paying attention and I met people like Gabby Franco, who's
Oh,
from,
you met her, huh? Yeah,
oh,
she's from
yeah,
Venezuela.
yeah, I was gonna say she's from Venezuela, and like
Yeah.
she's one of our DC Project ladies, and
Hmm.
she's very much, Americans, just what you were saying, Americans don't really understand what we're losing right now. They
Right.
don't get what we're giving up.
They,
She's
they
like,
don't they don't understand socialism and communism. You
yeah,
know, to them it was very shocking that in the state of Florida, Trump won in the majority of the Hispanic community there.
yeah,
But you stop and think about it. All these people come from Cuba, from
right,
Nicaragua, from Venezuela. They
yeah,
don't, that's the whole reason why they left these places. So they don't have to experience that here.
exactly.
They know what communism is. They know what socialism is. And it's something that,
And
you
they know how
know,
it creeps. Like it
absolutely.
starts with a little thing, and then it goes
Hmm.
bigger and bigger and bigger. Because it's just like, as a gun owner, just for the past decade, I'm like, I totally see that. No, they're not coming to take my guns away. They're going to make me a felon so they can just throw me in jail because I
Well,
can't keep up with all the gun laws that are currently.
let,
And it's
let,
just
let me
crazy.
give you a story.
Okay.
Okay.
And then we will go because when this is airing, this is going to be past my bedtime already, and I got to get up and do a match in
Okay.
the morning. So, all right,
This
give
is
me your story.
okay. This is the last story. I'm going to talk about how this affects you as a gun owner. Okay. When we invaded Iraq, right, we told the civilian population that they had to turn in their weapons, right? Back in the day, every citizen could have an AK, and I think it was 50 rounds. And a lot of them willingly went, being law-abiding citizens, went and turned in their guns, right? And then we lost. We did the change of government, and the worst mistake that the United States ever did is disbanding the Iraqi army, because a lot of these guys are upset. They're not getting any money or anything like that, so they became insurgents, and these guys ended up, pretty much uh, taking over the country and doing what they need to be doing. And just for the sake of this story, his name is Muhammad. So let's say Muhammad, somebody comes into his house and pretty much ransacks his house and tells him, "You're going to do what I tell you to do because I got you and your family. And if you don't do what I ask you to do, I'm going to kill you." So he was out there lobbing mortars at us, planting IEDs, even though this is something that he didn't agree with. But because this insurgent had his family, uh, he ended up having to do those things. So think about that. As far as your rights as a gun owner, there's a reason why we continue to be the United States of America. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not just about gun ownership. It's about keeping the government in check, being able to protect yourself, being able to defend your terrain, your property, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
So that's something that you should never take lightly. The fact that we just saw that in Ukraine, where Ukraine is, I mean, the government actually had to give guns to the population, says a lot, you know?
Right. Yeah. And it's yeah, I'm not even going down that road anyway because it's crazy to me. It's just
Yeah, it
like,
is.
yeah. And I mean, I've just learned so much about suicide prevention. I've learned so much about violence prevention. I've learned so much about being an American
Mhm.
because the laws that are in place to our Constitution is there for a reason, and that people just want to shred it and throw it away.
And people need to understand that other countries have copied our constitution. That's how good it is.
Right.
People don't stop and think about it. There's like 3 or 4 countries that pretty much mirror our constitution, and that says a lot about
Right.
what that document really means, and
Absolutely.
what it means to be an American.
Yeah, that would be those countries that don't hate us, though. So
Hmm.
there's that.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Well, I thank you for jumping on.
Hmm.
I'm glad we could work around our schedules because we both
Yeah.
seem to have great schedules this week.
Hmm.
Um, and while this is airing, I hope you're having fun with your buddies and enjoying your
Yeah.
memorial service that you're going to.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to be going to bed right now and
Okay.
when this actually finishes airing on Saturday night. So both
Okay.
times.
All right. Sounds good. Well, it was great
Um,
meeting you, Brooke, and let's continue this. The more we talk about it, the more we make other people aware, the better it's going to be for everybody.
and I mean, and absolutely, my hope is people who have commented or made comments and stuff that you'll come back and visit. And then maybe we can do another follow up where we are actually live on Saturday night.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
actually works out.
Absolutely. Sounds great.
Yeah, we'll do all that. All right, sir. Well, thank you for everything. And I'm going to hit the end broadcast button and see if it stops recording.
I'm sure it does.
I hope that that's what that means. Ta-da! All right, so bye everyone. Thank you so much for sticking out for that whole long time. And yeah, just like I just said on Wednesday night, I'm gonna go to bed now because I gotta be up at 6. Ghost, thanks for um, letting us know about 22. I will also post a whole boatload of what do we call it, links in the description, but probably not till Monday because I'm gonna shoot all day, drive home, go to my friend's mom's memorial service before I make it all the way home. So yeah, get ready. I see everyone's voting for the second part of the live stream. So yes, we will get Mario on again. And no problem, Gizzard. Gary, happy to do it. It just seems so perfectly appropriate that I do Suicide Vengeance Saturday with PTSD as the focus with our veterans, considering that's why we're raising money. So wish me luck tomorrow in the raffles, because that is the only thing I'm really planning on winning. And I will see you all next Saturday for our normal itty bitty 15-minute quickie sort of thing. And for those of you who want to, head on over to Barbecue's channel. I believe that is everything. So share, let me know in the comments maybe some of your favorite takeaways. DJ was PMing me at the time saying we should chop this up in little pieces. By all means, tell me what your favorite piece was if you actually sat through that entire thing. So I appreciate y'all, and I will see you next Saturday, and good night.